For more on this, let's bring in the U.S. ambassador to Israel, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Ambassador, always great to have you with us here on American Agenda. So what happens next with Iran? Is that strike that everybody's talking about imminent? And when do you think that might happen?
None of us know for sure, but I'll tell you all of the assets and resources are being assembled. So there's either going to be some type of significant action, or it's going to be that Iran finally decides that Donald Trump isn't kidding, and they take the president at his word, and they give up their nuclear aspirations. Let's hope that's what they do. I assure you, as someone sitting here where the bullseye would be in the middle of a war, I'd much rather there be a peaceful conclusion to this. But I think we also understand the president is not bluffing when he tells Iran, you have a limited amount of time to make a decision to give up enriched uranium and nuclear ambitions.
Ambassador, say there's not peace, unfortunately, and there is some type of a strike. I think the American taxpayers are wondering what comes next after that. Are we in some kind of a prolonged conflict? We know President Trump has never been a fan of that. Even with the capture of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, that was only a couple hours of fighting, and then that was over. So can you talk about what would come next?
I think we have to look at the fact that if this does in fact take place, the amount of resources that the U.S. has put here, two carrier groups, the Lincoln and the Gerald R. Ford, a significant number of fighters, of support planes. We've pretty much stacked up everything we have in the Middle East. And I think a lot of Americans may not understand that Iran is not a threat just to Israel or the Middle East. Iran for 47 years has been a threat to America. They've said death to America for all of this time. And their revolution started by overtaking the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and taking 52 hostages for 444 days. They tried to kill President Trump. They hired an assassin to take him out. They have killed hundreds, perhaps thousands of Americans through the years. Their proxy groups are everywhere, including the Western Hemisphere. If people think, well, this is Israel's problem. No, this is an issue for America. And if we do get involved, it's so that there will be a realignment in the Middle East and a possibility for peace like we haven't had in 47 years.
Ambassador, speaking of peace, we know that the president convened the first ever Board of Peace meeting just this morning. Your thoughts about what the Board of Peace could actually accomplish? Again, you're talking about a potential peace that we have never seen before in that part of the world. How do you think it went today?
I think it went great, and I think people, even the cynics, are going to have to give President Trump credit for some things. First of all, he brought all of the Arab nations together in Sharm el-Sheikh. They all signed a peace agreement. Even Hamas signed it. Now, Hamas isn't keeping it, and they're continuing to try to hold on to their weapons. They're continuing to make trouble there. But sooner or later, they're going to disarm, they're going to demilitarize, they're going to disappear. So that's an inevitable for them. But the other thing that a lot of people may not fully appreciate, every single hostage is out of Gaza for the first time since 2014. And ultimately, there's another thing that many of us who are living here in Israel, we absolutely are grateful for. Because of the ceasefire that President Trump was able to negotiate, we've had over 4 months where we have not had to run to the shelter to dodge a Houthi, Hamas, Hezbollah, or Iranian rocket or missile. It's been a wonderful 4+ months of peace, and the ceasefire has held. So let's give President Trump credit for doing something that I don't think most people thought was even possible.
And we know he and his whole administration trying to exhaust every diplomatic way possible to have peace with Iran in the conflict going on right now. Ambassador, I want to switch gears a little bit. We want to get to this. Talk about Tucker Carlson. He was in Israel yesterday to do an interview with you. Okay, but here's the story to this. He told the Daily Mail that after the interview, the Israelis confiscated his passport and hauled his executive producer off to an interrogation room. But the Israelis, they are saying that is all a lie, with the former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett writing this on X, quote, Tucker Carlson is a chicken blank. All right, the guy who's been spouting lies about Israel for the past 2 years landed today at the Ben Gurion airport, took a quick picture in the logistics zone, tweeted it to pretend he's actually in Israel, and then he later claimed that he is a serious reporter who then toured Israel, didn't even step foot in the country, then made up a story that he's being supposedly harassed by our security. whined about it, got back into the PJ, the private jet, and then flew off. Okay. I know this is big news today here, Ambassador. Your thoughts about that?
Well, it's ridiculous for him to say that somehow he was mistreated by the Israelis at the executive VIP lounge, that he had to pay hundreds of dollars just to be treated as a celebrity. So he got the celebrity treatment. Here's what happened. They looked at his passport. They look at everybody's passport. They ask him the standard questions they ask everyone coming in or out of the country. By the way, I show my diplomatic passport that has a diplomatic visa every time I come in or out. And they ask me the same questions. Now, tonight, something has surfaced that totally blows this out of the water. Tucker Carlson is seen on surveillance video in the lounge, and he's hugging and taking photos with the very airport employees that supposedly detained him and harassed him and created this bizarre incident. It's really unfortunate. And the person who leaked or reported this story is one of his former employees at the Daily Caller. So there's just a lot of weird stuff when he tries to create this drama that somehow Israel really roughed him up. I'll tell you, they roughed him up with all kinds of special snacks. They took his picture. They hugged him. They gave him all kinds of VIP treatment. And I don't think people, if they see the video or if they know the backstory, if they've ever been to Israel, they'll have anything other than laughter for this ridiculously untrue story about how he was detained. He was not.
Wow. Fake news, I think, is what we're saying right here.
Fake news. We should get that video out there for all to see.
Yeah.
You know, put it out there. And I'll say, Ambassador,
it's easy to find all over the internet right now.
Towards the end of last year, I was in Israel. When I left, I was with a group of journalists. They did the same thing to us. They looked at our passports, asked some questions, stood there for 2 seconds, and we were through. It was no big deal. So,
Yeah.
Not sure what he's getting at there. Ambassador Huckabee, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming on.